The music inside the restaurant was low, almost shy, as if it didn't want to disturb anyone important. Warm lights reflected off polished floors, and laughter floated between tables like smoke. At the center sat Victor Romano, the Mafia boss everyone feared but pretended not to notice. His suit was flawless. His face was tired. Around him, conversations dipped, eyes turned away, chairs shifted. No one dared approach. Then, from the far side of the room, a black waitress paused, wiped her hands on her apron, and asked softly, "Sir, will you dance with me?" Before the story pulls you deeper, let me ask you something simple. Where are you watching from right now? A city, a town, maybe a quiet room far away. Share it below. It's strange and beautiful how one moment can reach so many hearts at once. Victor's eyes lifted slowly. Not in anger. Not in pride. In surprise. No one had spoken to him like that in years, not without fear hiding in their voice. Her name tag read Lily. She stood straight, even though her hands trembled just a little. The room went silent, like everyone was holding their breath for her. "You don't have to," she added quickly, forcing a small smile. "I just thought, everyone deserves one song." Victor looked around. Men who once swore loyalty avoided his gaze. Women whispered. Even the band froze, unsure if they were about to witness kindness or chaos. Victor had ruled streets and lives, but in that moment, he felt smaller than he ever had. He stood. The chair scraped loudly, making Lily flinch. But Victor only removed his jacket, set it down neatly, and extended his hand. "One song," he said, his voice calm, almost gentle. Gasps rippled across the room. They moved to the open space near the bar. The band slowly picked up the melody again, an old love song, cracked with nostalgia. Victor placed one hand awkwardly at Lily's back, unsure of the distance, unsure of himself. She guided him without words. Step by step. The world shrank to the rhythm between them. Lily noticed things others never did. The stiffness in his shoulders. The way his jaw clenched when someone laughed too loudly. "You okay?" she whispered. He nodded, but his eyes betrayed him. "I used to dance," he said quietly. "Before everything." She didn't ask what everything meant. She didn't need to. As they swayed, Victor's mind drifted. He remembered a small apartment with peeling paint. A mother humming while cooking. A father who never came home one night. Music used to mean safety. Somewhere along the way, it became silence. The song ended too soon. The room stayed quiet. Lily pulled back first. "Thank you," she said. Not like someone thanking a powerful man, but like someone thanking a lonely one. Victor nodded once and returned to his table. People slowly resumed talking, but something had shifted. Whispers followed Lily as she went back to work. Some kind. Some cruel. She kept her head down. Later that night, as Victor paid the bill, he slipped something extra beneath the receipt. Lily found it while clearing the table, a folded note, no money. Just words. "You reminded me who I was before fear did." Her chest tightened. Outside, rain began to fall. Victor sat in his car, watching droplets race down the glass. For the first time in years, he didn't feel powerful. He felt awake. And Lily. Lily stood by the window, watching his car disappear into the night, unaware that one small, brave question had cracked open a life built on walls. She didn't know it yet, but that dance was only the beginning of a story neither of them was ready for. The next morning, Lily woke before her alarm. Gray light leaked through the thin curtains of her small apartment, and the city outside was already alive, buses hissing, distant horns, footsteps rushing somewhere important. She lay still for a moment, staring at the ceiling fan that clicked every time it turned. Her body ached the way it always did. After double shifts, but her mind was somewhere else. The dance. She replayed it again and again. Not the fear in the room. Not the stares. But the way Victor's hand had trembled just once before it steadied. The way his eyes softened, just for a second, like a man remembering a life he had misplaced. Don't read into it, she whispered to herself, swinging her legs off the bed. It was just a song. Lily's life didn't allow room for fantasies. She worked 6 days a week at the restaurant and cleaned offices on Sundays. Tips barely covered rent. Her mother's medical bills sat unopened on the kitchen table because looking at them made her chest hurt. Kindness, for Lily, was not a miracle, it was a habit. Something you did because the world was already heavy enough. Across the city, Victor Romano stood in front of a mirror that showed him everything he tried to forget. The scar on his jaw. The lines around his eyes that hadn't been there 10 years ago. His penthouse was silent except for the low hum of traffic far below. Expensive silence. Empty silence. He buttoned his shirt slowly. The waitress's voice echoed in his head. Everyone deserves one song. No one had ever said that to him without wanting something in return. At noon, Victor did something he hadn't done in years. He walked. No guards. No driver. Just him, a coat, and the city that once feared him. People passed without recognizing him, and he felt strangely relieved. Invisible, the way Lily probably felt every day. That evening, Lily returned to the restaurant. Same warm lights. Same polished floors. Same quiet judgment in the air. A coworker leaned in as she tied her apron. "You danced with him?" the girl whispered, eyes wide. Lily nodded once. He asked back. The girl shook her head. "You're brave. Or crazy." "Maybe both," Lily said, forcing a smile. The night moved slowly. Orders, trays, apologies. Lily focused on her steps, on breathing, on not thinking about the door. Then it opened. Victor walked in. The room reacted before Lily could. Conversations dipped. Someone dropped a fork. The manager straightened nervously. Victor didn't look around this time. His eyes went straight to Lily. He sat at a small table near the wall. Alone. Lily's heart thudded. She considered pretending not to see him. But kindness didn't work like that. She approached, not as a waitress serving a boss, but as a human acknowledging another. "Good evening," she said. "Lily," he replied, remembering her name. That alone made her pause. "I was wondering," Victor said, folding his menu without opening it, "if you'd sit for a moment. When you're free." She glanced at the manager. He nodded stiffly. "Anything to keep the peace." Lily sat. Up close, Victor looked older. Not weaker, just worn. His voice was quieter too. "I haven't been back since last night," he said. "Didn't know if I should." "Why not?" she asked. "Because when people look at me," he said slowly, "they don't see a man. They see a warning." Lily studied his face. "I saw someone who needed a dance." Silence stretched between them, not awkward, just honest. Victor reached into his pocket and placed something on the table. A simple envelope. "For your mother," he said. "No strings. No debt." Lily stiffened. "I didn't." "I know," he interrupted gently. "That's why." Her eyes burned. She didn't open the envelope. She didn't need to. Her fingers curled against the table as she fought the urge to cry in front of him, in front of everyone. "If you were standing there, watching this moment unfold, what would you have done? Would you accept help from someone the world calls dangerous? Or would pride stop you? Be honest and share your thought below, and if this moment stirred something in you, tap like. Sometimes that's the only way to say you felt it." Lily finally spoke. Thank you, she whispered. Not as charity. As recognition. Victor stood. I won't stay long. He said. I just didn't want last night to be the only proof that it happened. As he left, the room didn't feel as cold. Over the next weeks, Victor returned. Always alone. Always quiet. He tipped generously but never made a show of it. He asked Lily about her day. About her mother. About music she liked. He listened, really listened, like a man learning a language he once forgot. People noticed. Whispers turned curious. Fear softened into confusion. A mafia boss who waited patiently. Who said, please. Who smiled, just a little, when Lily laughed. But change, when it comes, never arrives alone. One rainy night, Lily overheard two men near the bar. Low voices. Sharp words. He's going soft, one said. Soft men don't last, the other replied. Lily's stomach dropped. Across the room, Victor met her eyes. Something passed between them, a warning she didn't yet understand. A storm gathering behind calm skies. And as Lily walked home that night, clutching her coat against the wind, she felt it, the quiet certainty that kindness had a cost, and they were both about to pay it. The rain followed Lily home that night, soaking the sidewalks and blurring the streetlights into long, trembling lines. She walked faster than usual, the men's voices still echoing in her head. He's going soft. She didn't know why those words frightened her more than the stories she'd heard about Victor Romano before. Her apartment smelled like damp clothes and old coffee. She locked the door, leaned against it, and let out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. Kindness had always been simple for her, a smile, a warm plate, a shared moment. But this felt bigger. Dangerous. Like stepping onto thin ice without knowing how deep the water was. Across the city, Victor sat alone in his study, lights dim, phone buzzing on the desk. Messages he didn't open. Names he didn't want to hear tonight. He poured a drink and didn't touch it. His mind wasn't on business. It was on Lily's face when he said her name. On the way she looked at him like he wasn't a monster or a myth, just a man. That scared him more than any threat ever had. The past crept in quietly. Victor grew up in a neighborhood where sirens sang lullabies and promises were always broken. His mother worked herself thin. His father vanished early, swallowed by the streets. Men like Victor learned fast, be feared, or be forgotten. He chose fear because it kept you alive. But fear also kept you alone. Lily reminded him of someone he once knew, himself, before power replaced purpose. Days passed. Then weeks. Victor continued coming to the restaurant, but his presence changed. He sat farther back. Watched more. Spoke less. Lily noticed the shadows under his eyes deepen. The way his shoulders stayed tense, even when he smiled. One afternoon, Lily visited her mother at the hospital. Machines hummed softly. Her mother's hand felt lighter than it used to. Lily talked about small things, the weather, a funny customer, a song on the radio. She didn't mention Victor. Not yet. Some truths needed time. On her way out, she passed a man arguing with a nurse about a bill. His voice cracked when he realized he couldn't pay. Lily paused, reached into her bag, and handed him what little cash she had. The man cried. Lily walked away quietly. She didn't know Victor had seen everything. That night, Victor waited until the restaurant was nearly empty. Why do you do that? He asked suddenly. Do what? Give pieces of yourself away, he said. To strangers. Lily wiped the counter slowly. Because no one ever did it for me when I needed it most. Victor nodded. He understood that too well. Have you ever had someone show up for you when the world turned its back? Type yes and share their name if you can. Sometimes gratitude deserves to be spoken aloud. The next day, things went wrong. A black car followed Lily's bus for 3 stops before disappearing. At work, a man she didn't recognize asked too many questions. That night, Victor didn't show up. When he finally did, 3 days later, his face was bruised, his knuckles split. Lily froze when she saw him. "What happened?" she asked, her voice barely steady. "Business," he said, too quickly. She shook her head. "That's not an answer." Victor hesitated. Then, for the first time, he told her the truth. About the men who thought he was weak. About the rules you couldn't bend without breaking something. About how kindness, in his world, was seen as an invitation to be destroyed. "You should stay away from me," he finished quietly. "I won't forgive myself if you get hurt." Lily's eyes filled, but she didn't step back. "You don't get to decide that for me." Those words hit him harder than any punch. Outside, thunder rolled. From that moment on, the city seemed to lean in, watching. Waiting. Victor started sending a car to follow Lily home, from a distance. Protection disguised as paranoia. Lily pretended not to notice, but the weight of it settled on her shoulders. One evening, as Lily closed up, the lights flickered. The door creaked open. 2 men stepped inside. They didn't smile. Victor was late. And Lily realized, standing there with her heart pounding and the room suddenly too quiet, that a single dance had tied her fate to a man trying to outrun his past, and the past was finally catching up. The bell above the restaurant door stopped ringing the moment the 2 men stepped inside. One was tall and clean-cut, wearing a coat too expensive for the weather. The other moved like he expected resistance, shoulders forward, eyes scanning exits. Lily's fingers tightened around the edge of the counter. "We're closed," she said, even though the sign still glowed open. The tall one smiled thinly. "We won't take long." Her mind raced. Victor's car wasn't outside. The manager was in the back counting receipts. The kitchen lights were already off. For the first time since she'd met Victor, fear flooded her chest, not the distant kind, but the sharp, immediate kind. "What do you want?" Lily asked. "To pass a message," the second man said, stepping closer. "You've been spending time with someone who doesn't belong to you." Lily swallowed. "I don't belong to anyone." The tall man's smile faded. "Everyone belongs to someone. That's how this city works." Before Lily could respond, the back door swung open. The manager appeared, frozen at the sight of them. "Hey, you guys need to leave." The second man turned slowly. "Sit down." The manager sat. Lily's heart pounded so loudly she was sure they could hear it. "We don't want trouble," the tall man continued calmly. "But kindness makes people careless. And careless people get hurt." The words landed like a warning carved in stone. Then, just as suddenly as they came, the men turned and left. The bell rang again, cheerful and cruel. Lily stood there shaking, long after they were gone. That night, Victor arrived too late. One look at Lily's face told him everything. He didn't ask questions. He didn't raise his voice. He simply closed the door, locked it, and placed his jacket over her shoulders when he saw her hands tremble. "I'm so sorry," he said. Not like a boss. Like a man who failed. She looked up at him. "This is your world," she whispered. "But I didn't step into it for money or protection. I stepped into it because I saw someone lonely." Victor closed his eyes. "I wanted to be better," he said. "I didn't know how to do it without breaking everything." For days after that, Lily stayed away from work. Victor insisted. He arranged a safe place, quiet, clean, guarded but respectful. Lily hated the walls. Hated the silence. It felt too much like fear pretending to be safety. She spent her time calling her mother, reading, staring out windows. Victor visited once, then twice, always keeping his distance. They talked about small things. Safe things. But something heavy lived between them now. One evening, Lily finally spoke it aloud. "If you push me away to protect me, you're still letting fear decide." Victor looked at her for a long time. "Fear is the only reason I'm alive." "Then maybe," she said gently, "it's time you live." Those words followed him into the night. Victor made a decision that would change everything. He called a meeting. Old allies. Dangerous men. Faces that didn't believe in mercy. He stood before them without shouting, without threats. He told them he was stepping back. That the restaurant, the streets near it, the people in Lily's life were off limits. Laughter followed. "Power doesn't retire," one man said. "It gets taken." Victor nodded. "Then take it." Silence fell. Walking away from fear meant walking toward consequences. Days later, Lily returned to the restaurant. The lights felt warmer. The air lighter. Customers greeted her again like normal. But Victor didn't come. Not that night. Not the next. Rumors spread quickly. Some said Victor was gone. Others said he was dead. Lily refused to believe either. Still, every time the door opened, her heart jumped. One afternoon, while cleaning a table, Lily found something carved into the wood, old initials, faded by time. She traced them with her finger and smiled sadly. People left pieces of themselves everywhere, hoping someone would notice. She looked around the room. A couple holding hands. A tired waitress laughing at a joke. A lonely man eating alone. And Lily did what she always did. She poured him coffee. Asked how his day was. Listened. "Now it's your turn, think of one small act of kindness you've done recently, or one you could do today. Share it below so others remember that humanity still lives, even in quiet moments. You never know whose life your kindness might quietly change." That same night, Victor stood on a bridge overlooking the city. The wind cut through his coat as he watched traffic flow beneath him, thousands of lives moving forward, together, apart. He had given up power, safety, certainty. But for the first time in decades, his hands didn't feel stained. His phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "You can't outrun what you are." Victor typed back slowly. "But I can choose who I protect." As he put the phone away, footsteps approached from behind. Too light to be guards. Too familiar to be enemies. Victor didn't turn around. The city lights flickered. And the choice he made next would decide whether redemption was earned, or paid for in blood. Victor stayed still as the footsteps drew closer. The wind tugged at his coat, carrying the smell of rain and metal from the bridge rails. He didn't turn because some truths were easier to face head-on, and others demanded patience. "Still standing where you don't belong," a voice said behind him. Victor knew that voice. Marco. Once his right hand. Now the man who wanted his crown. "I belong wherever I choose," Victor replied calmly. Marco laughed, sharp and hollow. "That's not how this works. You step away, you don't get to keep your rules." Victor finally turned. Marco looked thinner, harder. Ambition had eaten what loyalty once fed. Two other men stood a few feet back, hands in their coats. "I didn't come to fight," Victor said. "That's your mistake," Marco answered. The moment stretched. Traffic roared beneath them, uncaring. Victor thought of Lily. Of her asking questions no one dared ask. Of her hand steadying his steps during that one simple dance. "I'm done," Victor said. "Not just with the business. With the fear. With the blood." Marco's eyes flickered, just for a second. Then they hardened. "You don't get to quit who you are." Before anyone moved, sirens wailed in the distance. "Not close." But close enough to ruin plans. Marco cursed under his breath. This isn't over, he said, stepping back. You made this personal. Victor didn't answer. He watched them disappear into the dark, his pulse loud in his ears. The bridge felt colder after they were gone. By morning, the city buzzed with rumors. Raids. Arrests. Names whispered on the news. Victor stayed out of sight, letting the storm pass without him. He had given information. Not to buy safety, but to end cycles. He knew the cost would come. At the restaurant, Lily sensed it before she heard it. The air felt different. Customers spoke in hushed tones. The manager kept glancing at the TV above the bar. Headlines crawled across the screen. Local crime figure steps down amid investigation. Lily's breath caught. She stepped into the back hallway and leaned against the wall. Relief mixed with fear, tangled so tightly she couldn't tell them apart. Victor had done something irreversible. Something brave. Something dangerous. That evening, a man in a plain coat waited outside after her shift. He didn't approach. He simply nodded and said, "He wanted you to know he's alive." Tears burned before she could stop them. They met 2 days later, in a small community hall with folding chairs and chipped paint. No guards. No suits. Victor wore a sweater that made him look older, and lighter. "You didn't have to do all this," Lily said, standing across from him. "I did," he replied. "Because every time I tried to protect you by pushing you away, I was really protecting my fear." She searched his face. "What happens now?" Victor took a breath. "I testify. I disappear for a while. I try to make amends where I can. I don't ask forgiveness. I earn whatever peace is left." Silence settled gently between them. "I don't need you to be powerful," Lily said. "I need you to be honest." He nodded. "Then let me tell you the truth." He told her about his father. About the night violence first chose him. About the years he convinced himself that control was the same as safety. Lily listened without interrupting, tears slipping quietly down her cheeks. When he finished, he looked smaller. Human. If that revelation hit you, if hearing a man lay down his armor made your chest tighten too, leave a simple red heart. Sometimes one small symbol says what words can't carry. Weeks passed. Victor kept his word. The city shifted. Not healed, but changing. Lily returned to her routines, grounding herself in small kindnesses. She visited her mother, paid the bills with honest work, danced alone in her kitchen when the radio played old songs. Then one afternoon, the restaurant filled with sunlight and laughter. A small band set up near the window for a fundraiser. Lily carried plates, smiling, when a familiar voice called her name. She turned. Victor stood there, thinner, hair touched with gray, eyes clear. No fear in the room this time, only surprise. "I thought you were gone," she whispered. "I was," he said. "Now I'm back, as someone else." The band started a slow tune. Victor hesitated, then extended his hand, not commanding, not hopeful. "Just open." Lily smiled through tears and took it. As they moved, the room watched without whispers. Two people, finding balance again. "Be honest, after everything he did, everything he was, could you forgive?" Type "forgive" if you believe people can change, or "never" if some scars are too deep to heal. The song faded. Applause rose, soft and real. Victor bowed his head. Lily squeezed his hand once before letting go. Outside, the day stretched wide and bright. Inside, something fragile and beautiful took root, the idea that redemption isn't loud, it's lived, one honest step at a time. The applause faded, but something lingered in the room, not excitement, not fear, but recognition. People returned to their meals slowly, as if they didn't want to break whatever fragile peace had just settled. Lily stepped back behind the counter, her hands still warm from Victor's. Her heart felt full and terrified at the same time. Victor didn't stay long. He never did anymore. He paid, thanked the band, nodded to the manager, and paused near the door. Lily met his eyes once more. No promises passed between them. Just understanding. That night, Lily walked home without looking over her shoulder. Days turned into weeks. Victor kept a low profile, working quietly with a small non-profit that helped kids from neighborhoods like the one he grew up in. No cameras. No speeches. Just rooms filled with folding chairs, donated books, and second chances that didn't come with conditions. Sometimes Lily visited. She watched Victor sit with teenagers who reminded her of storms waiting to happen. He didn't lecture them. He listened. When they asked why he cared, he told them the truth. Because someone once asked me to dance when the world refused to see me. Life didn't magically become easy. Lily's mother had good days and bad ones. Bills still arrived. The city still carried its shadows. But something had shifted in Lily, a quiet confidence that kindness wasn't weakness, and courage didn't always look loud. One evening, Lily found Victor sitting alone in the community hall, staring at an old record player someone had donated. "You okay?" she asked. He smiled faintly. "I'm learning how to sit with silence without filling it with control." She sat beside him. The record crackled to life, the same song from the restaurant. They didn't stand this time. They just listened. If you believe love still wins, if you believe light can reach even the darkest corners, comment Amen below. Let's fill this moment with hope, because someone reading right now might need to see it. Months later, Victor was called to testify one last time. Lily waited outside the courthouse, hands folded tightly. When he emerged, thinner but free, the sun broke through the clouds like it had been waiting. "It's done," he said quietly. She nodded, tears slipping free. "Then live." They didn't rush into anything. Healing doesn't like being hurried. They shared meals, laughter, silence. Some nights, Victor still woke from dreams that smelled like smoke and regret. Lily would sit with him until the shaking passed. One afternoon, Lily returned to the restaurant to find a new waitress standing nervously near the wall, young, unsure, invisible in the way Lily once was. A group of customers ignored her attempts to speak. Lily stepped in gently. "Hey," she said. "You want help with that tray?" The girl's shoulders relaxed. "Yes, thank you." Victor watched from his table, heart full and aching all at once. If this moment touched you deeply, don't keep it quiet. Tap like, not for a story, not for entertainment, but for the souls who carried pain and still chose kindness. One click can be your way of saying, "I felt this, and I care." That evening, the band played again. Laughter filled the room. Lily wiped down tables as the sun dipped low, painting the walls gold. Victor waited until her shift ended. "Will you dance with me?" he asked softly. She smiled. "I was hoping you'd ask." They moved together, not perfectly, not dramatically, just two people learning a new rhythm. Around them, no one looked away this time. Because the truth was simple. Kindness doesn't erase the past. Forgiveness doesn't excuse harm. But choosing compassion, even once, can change the direction of a life. And sometimes, all it takes is one brave question, asked by someone the world never expected, to remind us who we still can become.